Hello and welcome to the Winding Road podcast. I'm going to talk fast today because I do not have a whole lot of time with you. Only about 10 minutes until I get to my destination to make a little money. But I was just clicking on here thinking about what I was going to listen to on the drive, so I wasn't really thinking about really getting on here and doing one of these things. So I was just somehow on my own podcast. So then I clicked on a podcast called The Long Winding Road. And this lady did about 10 episodes. I think the last one finished up in 2018. And I listened to about 7 minutes of it. And just her story of what she was telling about losing her father and losing her mother. And then it made me think about how this is going to be hitting someone that's happened to a lot differently than someone it hasn't happened to. And the people that it has happened to are then, time travel back to those times and think about all their memories as the lady's speaking. And so then it's a reflection, and then it's gaining something to take into the future with you if you might still be dealing with that sort of issues or whatever issues that we might have. And how do we take those forward if we're reflecting? And then I thought about other people who have not gone through that experience. And I'm like, okay, well, they're not reflecting, they're projecting now. So then whenever it does happen to them, hopefully whatever this lady is saying or whatever I'm saying or whoever is saying it, know what I'm saying? I was watching Trailer Park Boys the other night. Oh, good old J-Rock. Season 3, episode 2. Or 3 maybe. We watched a couple of them last night. But she was going through something. And if you haven't gone through it yet, it's like, okay, well, I don't know. So what do I care? But then it's like, okay, well, you realize it's probably something that's going to happen. So then you're like, okay, well, how can I take this now, into the future with me? Even like I said, as we talk about, even if it gets lost back in my subconscious, it's still going to be there. Maybe whenever that time comes, and it'll be able to help me. It's the positive energy flow, right? Yeah. So I'm sitting there listening to it, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm gonna be able to use this in the future. And then I'm thinking about my past. And then all of a sudden I'm reflecting on something totally unrelated to what she said. And I'm thinking about all those years that I got caught up in lust and not being of sober mind. And even in those moments, whenever that was happening, I still had a pretty good sense of mindfulness. Because I realized, obviously, what I'm doing might not be the best, but I knew that I was caught up in it, in the middle of it. This is all what I'm thinking about back then. I'm thinking about I'm in the middle of it. I'm thinking about how much fun it is to live on the surface and to have all these pleasures, and I realize that I'm totally caught up in it, and I'm having a damn good old time. But I'm also aware, it's not good, but then I'm also aware of how I can take my experiences later to turn it into fiction or to write about it or to get on here and talk about it. I knew that one day I would come out of it. That's where the faith came in, that I would come out of it. I knew that I would. And here I am now. Thank you, God. Thank you the more. I'm here now. And it was sort of, back then it was the faith, but now that I'm out of it, I realize that maybe I didn't plan it out. And I'm just now thinking about this right now because I was thinking a minute ago, I had kind of sort of planned that out. But it wasn't my plan. It was the plan of whatever my life was and how it was supposed to happen naturally. And I was letting it play out naturally, and that's kind of way that I've always sort of lived, even in the times where I necessarily wasn't caught up in the good, I was caught up more in the bad. Because I sort of like erased the good and bad then, you know. I knew it wasn't great, but I knew that I was going to continue to do it. And I tried to fight it at times, of course, but then I didn't. I stopped fighting it, man, and I just let my life live out naturally. And as I'm letting it live out naturally, I started to gain the understanding that this stuff's not all that great for me. And now that I'm not putting focus on stopping it, I just had faith that it would start to fade, and I trusted God that it would start to fade, and I knew with a certainty that it would fade because God had already had my life planned out for me, and I was kind of planning it too. I'm like, all right, well, okay, I'm only going to be in my 20s and 30s once here. Whenever I get 40 and 50, my chances of picking up hot women, having a good time with them, talking with them, as well as doing the other stuff with them, talking with them so that I can gain more life experience, listen to the stories that they tell, even though the big lust was a big part of it, I was still aware while that was happening that I would be able to use those moments in the future for some sort of good. And I knew it would be getting on here and sharing with you, even though I went through all those fears of getting over the hurdles to be able to do it. I knew back then that I was going to do it. And I knew I was going to take that stuff and write about it and turn it into fiction. And I lived out those younger days, you know, my prime athlete day. I always relate myself to an athlete, right? So I'm an athlete, I'm going through all that. Yeah, I guess, you know, I'm using the best times for my sexual peak. And it's natural, obviously, I feel like, for us to easily get caught up in some of that stuff. In the sex, it just comes naturally. Eons and eons and eons, man, of this shit. I don't know how long an eon is, I may be off on that, but long time. It happens naturally. And I let it. And I knew one day I'd be 40 and 50. Not going to be as easy then to be able to have good times, you know, with different women and stuff. And I knew also that my brain, even though I was kind of lost, and the mind can get cloudy at times whenever all that's going on, and can get very cloudy and can get very stormy. The rain, the lightning, and the thunder can come. But I was still able to see through those clouds, man, see through the storm, see those clearings of where I would eventually one day be. And because I was able to take all that time during my youth, I took it at a time, you know, where I'm hopefully able to remember a lot of it. And even in the middle of it, I was writing stuff, man. I was writing my novel. I was still taking the time. I wasn't taking as much time as I needed, but I was still taking the time to do it. So that goes back to what I talked about on some of the other podcasts. It's like, just keep moving forward, even if you can't because you think you can't, because you don't have enough time and life gets in the way of our creativity and the goals and the things that we want to do. It's still taking a little bit. It's to keep the car going, whether it's 5 miles an hour, 10 miles an hour. Eventually, you know, you got it up to 55, you know, and maybe you don't hit cruise control. I'm not hitting cruise control. Now I'm in the middle of the big storm of really going for it because I have the time, because the sky is sunny. I see a few clouds here and there, and I'm talking about the bad, the negative, the noise. I see a few clouds here and there, but the sun is shining brightly in the sky. And I'm seeing that right now with my eyes, and one day I'm gonna die, but until then I'm gonna fly. I'm gonna soar to that sky, motherfucker. Sound like J-Rock now? Know what I'm saying? Yeah, I love the trailer park, boys. And that was a test for me, because getting over smoking and stuff. My latest hurdle, now I'm on the hurdle of sodas and sugars and things like that. But getting over that hurdle, that was a big step forward for me last night watching that. Because they smoking that damn show all the freaking time. And the whole time I was watching it, I didn't want one. And I was like, wow. Man, how far have I come? And earlier I got out of the shower. I like to do this from time to time. I would say on average I do it maybe once a month or so. Sometimes more, sometimes less throughout different periods of my life. But today I was just in one of those thankful moments. And it goes back. My dad was raised Catholic. And as I said before, I was raised, though, in a non-denominational Christian church. But I would go to Catholic church with my dad. You know, whenever they bend over, they always like do the thing with their knees and they're bending down. So what I like to do whenever I'm feeling a moment of reflection and appreciation just for my life and how blessed I am, bend one knee to the ground, point to the sky, come up, and you're thankful in that moment that you can still do that, to bend down. I'm sorry, there's people on here right now that can't do that. You can do it in other ways, you know, hopefully. But then as I'm realizing I'm thankful that I'm able to do that, then I do the other knee. And then I'm thankful for everything. And it's just taking those little moments, man, of appreciation. And that's just a trigger thing. Dropping the knee, giving thankfulness. You know, I don't know. God sees it. The more sees it. I believe, I have faith. Whatever the more, whatever God is. The spirit of the universe. Episode 10 of the Long Winding Road on that Girls podcast, the spirit of the universe. That was the title that caught my eye. Now why I started clicking on there and listening to it. Whatever the spirit of the universe is, that spirit is within us. Let it drive you forward to love, to inspire, and to unite. I'm me, you're you, we are each other. God bless.